Hey y'all, welcome. I am the Loud Little Ducky. Today we're going to go over two of Owens' exes fighting back. They have had enough of Gingrich smearing their name and Owens, and they have finally decided enough is enough. I'm done with this. So we are going to go in and see what Michael Maraschini and Greg Gillespie have to say to Owens' attorney. So let's jump in. The first email from Gingrich to Randy Pollock, who once was Maraschini's attorney. We don't know if he still is or not. But it says, Miss Pollock, okay, maybe it's a woman. I apologize if I thought it was a man. Man or woman, either way. Way to stand up for a good guy. I am writing to document our discussion just now and explain my position. Per the email below, we spoke about your client, Mike Maraschini, about 2 weeks ago. At that time, I told you I just wanted to speak with Mike and hear his side of the story. I also explained that if Mike was going to be a witness in the Arizona paternity matter, I could and would be willing to subpoena him for a deposition if he was unwilling to have a simple phone conversation. Well, then depose him. He doesn't want to talk to you. Depose him. But I see you have to try first. In response to that discussion, you sent me the email below stating that Mr. Maraschini was not going to testify at the trial in June. That was 2 weeks ago that they said that. So maybe a lot has changed in 2 weeks. I know you put out a lot of crap between a 2-week time span, so I can see him changing. Since then, counsel for Mr. Echard has indicated Mr. Maraschini will be testifying in person at the trial in June. This is, of course, inconsistent with what you said below. You hadn't posted all the bullshit that you had posted 2 weeks prior, I'm sure. You hadn't posted his deposition. You hadn't posted a podcast episode. You hadn't posted the picture of him. So excuse him for changing his mind after you were a douche. To clarify the situation, I called you again today to ask if it was possible for me to speak with Mr. Maraschini. Your response was, to paraphrase, "No, we are not willing to cooperate with you." In light of that response, I want to make 2 things clear. 1, if Mr. Maraschini intends to testify at trial, then I have an absolute right to know this, and I have a right to interview him. That interview can be done informally in a phone call, or it can be done formally in a deposition. Or you could just email and have a conversation with him, because he's not getting on an unrecorded line with you. Either way, refusing to cooperate is not an available option if Mr. Maraschini wants to participate as a trial witness. Depose him, where he can have his attorney and you can question him and everything is on the record. So nothing can be misconstrued. He's not playing Owens' games. On the phone, you suggested Mr. Maraschini may just show up at trial rather than participating as a subpoena witness, i.e., he would simply choose to be there, either as a spectator or as a non-subpoenaed witness. If that is the plan, I need to be clear about our position. If Mr. Maraschini shows up as either a spectator or as a non-subpoenaed witness, Laura will ask the Phoenix police to have Mr. Maraschini immediately arrested for violating the restraining order issued against him, copies attached. In short, I agree Mr. Maraschini can testify at trial without fear of being arrested. provided he complies with the rules of procedure. Him not agreeing to just talk to you on the phone with just the two of you and nothing is recorded or documented does not mean that he is not willing to comply with the rules. It just means he doesn't trust you and he doesn't trust your client. That means, among other things, I have the right to interview him and take his deposition if necessary. Great. Go get an order for it. Get it done. You know how to do it, right? If Mr. Maraschini does not want to comply with procedural rules, that's 100% okay. I am more than happy if he wants to stay home, assuming he's been lawfully summoned. But if he comes within 100 yards of Laura without being compelled to appear by a valid subpoena, then he will risk arrest and prosecution for violating the restraining order. I love that they can just be jerks and sit here and do all of this damning shit to these people and then threaten them. I'm going to talk shit about you, but don't come trying to defend yourself, because we'll arrest you. Because Owens doesn't want him to talk. So she has to shut him up by abusing courts and law enforcement. Note, Rule ER 3.4F of the Arizona Rules of Professional Conduct provide a lawyer shall not request a person other than a client to refrain from voluntarily giving relevant information to another party. Based on this rule, I assume Mr. Woodnick has not instructed you or Mr. Maraschini to refrain from speaking to me. If that has occurred, it would be a per se violation of the ethical rules. We're not saying you can't speak to him. We're just saying we're not having a telephone conversation with you. Also, and just to be clear, I am not under any circumstances suggesting Mr. Maraschini should not participate in the trial if he has relevant information. But you don't think he has relevant information. All I'm saying is that if he wants to testify, he needs to do so in a matter that complies with the rules and the law. This is a mandatory to ensure basic fairness to all sides. Finally, please note that it is a felony under Arizona law for any person to unlawfully withhold testimony, to evade legal process, to appear, and or fail to appear when legally summoned. Did he say he was going to unlawfully withhold testimony? No. He's written you too, so it's documented. And if you summoned him or subpoenaed him, I'm sure he would show up. For avoidance of any doubt, nothing in this email should be construed as an attempt to cause Mr. Maraschini not to appear. Oh, we're threatening him, but we don't want to threaten him to not appear. We're just saying he needs to appear with proper paperwork. But we're not threatening him to not appear. On the contrary, I would very much like him to appear, provided he does so in a manner that complies with the rules, including the rules that require the prompt disclosure of the substance of his testimony and the rule which entitles me to interview him prior to trial. Well, they have disclosed to you. Woodnick has disclosed to you, and Maraschini has personally disclosed to you what he will be saying. So you cannot say any longer that nobody has disclosed what this witness testimony is about. You know. So shut your trap on it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Such a nice ending for a rude letter. Threatening letter. The audacity of this man and Owens to do this. This was May 8th. Gingras wrote to Greg Woodnick. Greg, just to follow up, I'm in the process of looking for a computer person in San Fran to look at Mike's laptop. Laura wants to move forward with that review. And while I am not confident it will change anything, I do think it may help her remove doubts about what the laptop shows. That alone could be worth the effort. So she needs reassurance that the laptop wasn't messed with. So they're okay with getting a report back from an expert that says it was sent from her and Mike didn't mess with it. And her lawyer is confident that it's not going to change anything. He doesn't believe that another expert witness is going to say anything different, which means his client lied. Did his client admit after she lied to him? Okay, yeah, I did send those, but I just didn't think it was important in this case. And I hope he is telling her, stop effing lying. I cannot do my job as a lawyer to try to get you out of this mess you created if you continue to lie and lie and lie. You do it again, I'm out of here. And then he needs to stick to that. Because how many times does a client have to lie to you before you say, enough, I'm not going to represent you anymore? Because what you want me to do, I cannot do. And then if Gingras finds out that she did doctor those images, he cannot go up in court and say that she didn't. Because if he knows she did, he can't say that she didn't, because that's lying. And a lawyer cannot go into court lying about things he has knowledge about. As discussed, I'd also appreciate you setting up a call with Maraschini if you can. I guess there's also a technical issue with that. Mike is, to my knowledge, represented by Randy Sue Pollock, and I don't have her consent to talk with him. So if Mike is open to having a call, which I hope he is, I just need to make sure I have consent from his counsel to speak with him. One last thing. After talking with Laura about this, she said she has a lot of questions for Mike. Oh, I'm sure she does. I told her my preference is to have her send me specific questions and see if Mike wants to answer them. He doesn't care to answer anything that Laura has questions about. Because it's just going to be lies. Didn't you see that napkin the stranger gave me after you abused me on the plane? Anyways. She also said she's willing to speak directly with him, but that may not be appropriate in light of the restraining order. Your lawyer has to tell you you have a restraining order on this guy because you're so scared of him and you keep renewing it every time because he's such a scary, scary guy. But your lawyer has to tell you it's not appropriate to talk to him. Why would you want to talk to somebody you are scared of so much that you continue to renew the restraining order? On the other hand, if Mike has a strong preference in favor of directly speaking with Laura, maybe we could make that happen. Nope. You think he's going to fall into that trap? No. So she can later say he came into what? Because guess what? The courts don't care. The courts tell you, a lot of times they will tell these guys or tell these girls, if a person has the restraining order against you, you cannot show up. You cannot talk to them. I don't care if they try to talk to you or want you to come around. The court says you can't. And if you get caught, you're going to be in trouble. I've seen it many a times where girls will go put out restraining orders on guys, and then they will be back under the same roof shortly after, and then the courts find out about it, and the guy gets arrested. Even though she wants him here, but because there's a court order in place, he's not allowed to be there whether she wants him there or not, because it's out of her hands at that point. So no. I'm licensed in California and can probably do some sort of stipulation with Randy to modify the California order to allow this just to be safe. Well, good God, how long is that going to take? Just subpoena him, and then we don't have to worry about it. P.S. This goes without saying, but to the extent I suggested Mike would be arrested if he comes to court in Arizona, that suggestion is completely and totally withdrawn. I only said that because I didn't want Mike to show up without giving me a chance at least to interview him, as I would any normal witness. But he never said he wouldn't do an interview with you. He just said he wasn't going to talk on the phone with you. He wasn't going to talk to you or your client. So you thought threats was the way to go about it, and it's not. Especially after all the bullshit you pulled online. You cannot blame a guy. As long as Mike agrees to have a reasonable call to answer some questions, he's not going to take a call. He is not going to be on the phone. I know it's old school. You know, it's your way. Get on the phone and talk. You should be able to talk this stuff out. Yeah, maybe you should be. But because of your client and the stuff that you've done, they don't trust it. I'll stipulate and agree his appearance in Arizona is not a violation of anything and will not expose him to arrest or any legal consequences. You may say that, but Owens may decide to pull something later and file a violation. We know she likes calling Scottsdale police. She has many phone calls with them. You need to learn to sleep on your words and calm the hell down. Because your words and typing get out of control. You're like the angry Kermit typing on his typewriter with all of your motions, your blog posts, your Twitters, and your emails. Calm down. Woodnick writes back, David, let me know about your computer expert ASAP. Mike is fine with the tech issues being reviewed by your expert because he has nothing to hide. There are other files on that computer that are personal/private, so we need to figure out how to assure that those are not accessed. But that should be able to do, navigable. Number 2, in addition to the tech confirmation, Colin Scanlon recalls all of this, and he was present during the meeting with Ron Owens in San Francisco where they discussed the situation. Ron was apologetic for what Laura had done. 3, Mike mentioned he is willing to talk to you. Of course, I let him know you were very thoughtful during our call today. He needs to vet it with Randy. I did not mention Laura wanting to talk to him, only because I forgot, but I'm going to guess that he will take a hard pass, but I could be wrong. This needs to end, Greg. Truer words have never been spoken, Greg. And here is Michael Maraschini's words to Gingras, and they are amazing. Mr. Gingras, Greg Woodnick reached out to me and gave me your contact number because you have expressed a desire to speak with me. I want you to know that I was about to call you and tell you about my harrowing experience with Laura Owens and all the lies she's told, including, but not limited to, lying about being pregnant with twins, telling me she had cancer, threatening suicide, and emotionally terrorizing me to coerce me into a relationship with her. Oh, let's not forget her parents were also coercing you to be with her. But before I could pick up the phone, I saw that you tweeted out a photograph of me and Laura, an audio from a radio show we did together from a traumatic time in my life. I cannot express to you how inappropriate and offensive that action was. You have accused me of fabricating evidence and lying, which led me to take my laptop directly to an expert for analysis. I had moved on with my life and had no interest in opening up old wounds that have so injured me, but you made it impossible for me to sit quietly. You posted my deposition online to accuse me of lying and humiliated me purposefully. I deeply resent the allegations, which is why I decided to turn over my laptop as evidence in the Clayton Echard case against Laura. We both know that she sent those doctored medical records to me, and now you have proof. I could not in good conscience remain quiet and watch Laura use this same playbook against another innocent man. I have decided that I will not speak with you on the phone. I will speak in a court of law on June 10th under oath, and I will tell the truth about the horrors that Laura visited on my life. You may ask me any question you want. I will answer with the whole truth. You do not understand or willfully refuse to accept how traumatizing my interaction with Laura Owens has been. She destroyed my reputation and ruined my background checks by taking out a fraudulent order of protection against me based on lies that have affected me personally and professionally. She accused me of horrific acts of domestic violence that never happened. She fabricated medical evidence and held threats of suicide over my head to keep me locked in a relationship that was toxic and deeply disturbing. But perhaps the worst thing you have done is to suggest that I should talk to Laura, the woman who attempted to, and in many ways did, destroy me. This is the same woman who continues to renew the false order of protection against me and pretends to be terrified I'll be in the same courtroom as she. Why would someone so afraid of me want to speak with me and violate that order she insists she needs? This just a day after you threatened to have me arrested if I showed up the courthouse to be a witness. The fact that you would suggest such an inappropriate call between me and my abuser proves to me that you have no idea how inappropriate it would be to speak to the woman who fabricated wild tales about me and turned them into a TED Talk and an entire entry in the Chicken Soup for Soul that will live on forever. This letter, which has been painful for me to write, has addressed everything you wanted to speak to me about by phone. All the best, Michael Maraschini. Amazing. There is nothing left to be said. He said it all. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Gingras. Gingras responds back. Mike, please call me David. Just FYI, there's an ethical rule for lawyers that say I'm not allowed to communicate about a case directly with a represented party, meaning a person who is currently represented by a lawyer, unless I have consent from that person's lawyer. That limit only applies to the discussion about the matter in which the person is represented. So, for example, if you were represented by a lawyer in a lawsuit involving a car accident, if I was the opposing lawyer, I could not speak directly with you about the car accident without your lawyer's permission. But I still could talk to you about something else, sports, weather, politics, etc., which nobody cares to talk to you about. They wish you would just disappear and vanish. I know that's a weird rule, but it's something I take seriously. In this situation, it's not clear to me whether anyone represents you with respect to Laura's case. I know Randy Sue Pollock previously represented you with respect to the California Order of Protection stuff, which is all resolved now. No, it's not resolved. Y'all may think it's resolved. But it is not resolved until this protection order gets lifted and gets removed for fraud. To my knowledge, she does not represent you with respect to the Arizona case involving Laura and Clayton. I also don't think Greg Woodnick is representing you with respect to Laura's case. He has never claimed to be acting as your lawyer. So at this point, I think you are technically not represented with respect to Laura's case. But I'm not 100% clear on this. It's entirely possible for a lawyer to represent you with respect to one thing, but not with respect to something else. That is true. There are people out there who have a lawyer for a criminal suit, and then they have a different lawyer defending them on a, let's say, fired for wrongdoing or something, unfairly fired thing. Like, they can have different things going on. So to err on the side of caution, I need to make sure that if you are represented by anyone with respect to the Arizona case, I have permission from your lawyer to talk to you about the Arizona trial. Bearing in mind, I understand that you don't want to talk at this point. If you are not represented, that's fine. I just need to know. I am only mentioning this so you don't think I was ignoring your comments below. I do want to respond, and I do want to encourage you to change your mind about talking to me. I promise it's not a big deal. So, you know what would make it not a big deal? Is if you didn't come off as an asshole and conniving. But I just need to make sure you aren't represented by anyone first, since that hadn't been made clear by either Greg or Randy Sue. P.S. I removed that tweet from yesterday, and I am happy to remove anything else you ask. Well, it's so nice that you decided to remove it, but guess what? Damage is already done by your need to act impulsively. You need to think on things. You should not be doing anything impulsively. Your impulse decisions are awful, Gingras. Now we are going to go into Greg Gillespie, Greg with 1G. So, here we go. Greg Woodnick sent me your contact information. I am not interested in airing this drama on social media. I am also a private person, unlike Laura and Clayton. I'm a normal guy with a normal job and fixated on being a new dad in my normal life. I'm sorry you cannot read this very well. But I'm going to read it to you. Sorry. You can imagine how upset I was when I was told by people following the Echard matter that you may have shared legal papers involving my case with Laura and her pregnancy nonsense on your blog. I have never spoken about my case publicly or shared the absolute hell your client put me through. Not one of the other lawyers that Laura ever did that or treated me with such disregard. You broadcasting my cases with Laura is so similar to her history of contacting my work, emails to PR, threats to reach out to employees via Uncle Joe's bizarre emails, having order of protection served to my office, and probably more that I'm not thinking of at the moment, multiple times to get me to get me humiliated and to get me fired. This feels like an attempt to intimidate me, not to come to court for Clayton. And if you are about to say that if it was the other online people and you were just responding, or that it was not your intentions, save the oxygen, as you were insulting my ability to read. You have read my files since you've shared some of it, and while Laura and I were intimate one night, regrettably so times 1 trillion. Oh, okay. One night, regrettably so times 1 trillion. I did not get her pregnant. The evening was also consensual. I did not her or orchestrate her or whatever that horrific lie was that she told the judge when she was refusing to be on the computer screen where someone could see and visually confirm her pregnancy. Sound familiar? I refused to date Laura or do her relationship contract thing, despite her telling me that she would only have an abortion if I went to her sister's wedding and other crazy demands. It is not just a coincidence that Mike, Matt, and Clayton all have nearly the same story. You should also see the order of protection the court granted me prior to getting counsel. It was granted and signed by a judge. Do you think I can read the future? Or is it just a miraculous phenomenon that this document lays the groundwork for a nearly identical timeline Laura has displayed between herself and ABC's The Bachelor? She's a lush for celebrities. Have you not seen it? I am happy to share it with you as it contains over our court seal, timestamp, and dated. Let me know if you feel compelled to see it. Laura tried to ruin my life with her abortion coercion lawsuit for twin pregnancy that never happened. She claimed she was pregnant in days. She photoshopped an ultrasound image taken from a website online from years before 2015. Sound familiar? She had from court-ordered meetings off camera because she was hiding not being pregnant, and then claimed I somehow was involved in her R. She even claimed one fetus died because she only took one of the abortion pills. I can go on about the insanity. She tried to ruin my life. She failed as I have a real child, and I have been to real OB appointments, unlike Laura. I'm pretty familiar with how a real pregnancy works. Her story with Clayton is so similar. Just like with Clayton, she contacted my family and made up connections with my life to make herself feel impactful. She contacted my ex-girlfriends based off of one conversation we had on one date and continues to try to connect with them. She sent a cease and desist letter to my current girlfriend's work just a few months ago to continue the harassment of me and my family. David, imagine spending a few hours with a human that almost 3 years later, that human is still attempting to be involved in your life. Do I think Laura is maniacal? Ask me on June 10th. You'll probably realize the same thing. but already got paid and are too far to turn back. After the atrocities you've posted online, Greg. So, yeah, this is just ridiculous. It's the same story over and over and over again. You should have changed it up a little bit, Owens. Maybe you would have gotten further along. But now, it's all done with. Nobody will believe you ever again. Gingras writes back to Gillespie, Greg, it's Sunday night, and I didn't see your email until just this second. Do you want to have a conversation? Despite whatever Woodnick may have said, I'm completely a normal guy, and I'm willing to have a conversation with you man to man, off the record, nothing recorded, and no threats. Nobody is going off the record with you, Gingras. Nobody's going off the record with Owens. We want everything documented. Dot our I's, cross our T's. We do not trust you to. No threats. Yeah, nobody's threatening Gillespie if he shows up. And he's been to the trials. I am happy to talk now, or tomorrow, or whatever. And the thing about, oh, I'm a normal guy. Well, you are a douche canoe who likes to slander people. Like, you just like to talk crap about people. It may not be technically slander because it's written word, so it's technically libel, but whatever. Nobody wants to talk to a guy that just talks shit. FYI, there is an ethical rule that says if you have a lawyer, I can't speak directly with you. I can only talk to you as a lawyer. I know Woodnick was your lawyer in the past, but I am not aware of him representing you today. If Woodnick is still representing you, let me know so I can go through the correct channel. Otherwise, my cell phone number is, and I am happy to talk with you right now or tomorrow or whatever. Lawyers are not permitted to lie, so I promise you this conversation will not be recorded. Will not be shared with anyone and will not be posted on social media or anywhere else. Yeah, those are all the things that we don't want. We want it to be recorded. We want the courts to know what you say. That way nothing can get twisted. People can hear it with their own ears. Not a he said, she said, nothing. Just let me know. David Gingras, Esquire. From Gillespie. I'll talk, but man to man, I have no problem putting things in writing. You know, Laura is effing with you, and it's all a lie, right? There's nothing you can do or say to get me to entertain Laura or you. I'm fact. In fact, you're associated with her. Therefore, you should know my sentiment towards you as a person. Gillespie. Now, I feel like he can say that about Gingras. The association, because he's acted so unethical. I don't really know where his morals are. But they seem to line up with Owens, and he seems to agree with Owens and believes her, which is great to have a lawyer believe you, but I don't feel like we would be able to say this if he was writing to Corey Keith or if he was writing to Lexi, because just because they were associated with her and they were defending her, we pretty much knew that they weren't going to be, they showed integrity, because they were not going to deal with the lying. And so if we just said, oh, we don't like Corey Keith because he was associated with Owens, that's not exactly fair. He was doing his job at the time. He didn't have any, these attorneys didn't really have evidence like the stuff that Gingras has. So I think it would be unfair to say it to them. I think it is perfectly okay to say you're associated with her, and my sentiments towards you as a person are not, not great for Gingras. Because he has been shown all this stuff. He knows all this stuff. Whereas the previous lawyers, we had just gotten a HIPAA form signed right before Gingras came on. So previous lawyers didn't have all this knowledge. They were just trying to take what Owen said as truth. Because why would somebody lie about this? Because it's so easily to prove, right? Oh, I have all these medical records. But Gingras comes off as a scumbag attorney. People may say he's a nice guy in real life and everything like that, but as an attorney, he's gross. And I don't know how he looks at himself in the mirror every day. He said, oh, that's just the lawyer side of me. The real side of me is not like that. Who you are in every aspect of your life is part of who you are as a person. And so somewhere in you is a scumbag. Gingras writes Gillespie back. Greg, 1G. You reached out to me. I have no interest in messing with you. I had no idea who you were as of 3 weeks ago. Well, then you obviously didn't read the court file up until 3 weeks ago. Because his name is mentioned in there. So if you had the file on Owens when you first entered this case, you very much knew who Gillespie was. And I don't buy that lie. You and I do not have any personal disputes with each other. I don't know anything about Laura's past other than what the file contains. None of this is personal to me. I'm only searching for the truth. I only care about the things that are needed to resolve the legal issues I'm working on. We've shown you the truth. You have been shown the truth. So in my opinion, you don't care about the truth. I don't care what you're searching for. You're searching for Owen's truth, which is no truth at all. With that said, I don't see any grounds to say that Laura is effing with me. She's not the one pushing any of this forward. She wants to go on with her life. And she has no interest in dragging any of her past into the present if she does not have to. Well, she brought it into the present because she continues to lie to her doctors and her expert. She talks about she's never done this before, when she has. She lied about medical records and brought other people into it. So yeah, it's a pattern. It needs to be dealt with. She wants to move on with her life because this has been hell for her. She didn't realize that this particular time was going to end up like this. She thought it was going to be just like it was with Matt and Mike and Gillespie. She would get her way and move on and continue to act like a scared little girl when she is the scary one. She doesn't like it because she got caught. She's not sorry for what she's done. She's sorry she got caught. The only issue I am worried about right now relates to the situation with Clayton Echard. I don't have any interest in you at all, except the extent that Woodnick says you have important information that bears on the case I'm working on. If Woodnick didn't bring you up, I'd have no interest in you at all. If you have important info, then I'm happy to talk. If you don't, then I have no interest in disturbing your privacy. Except for you want to blog about it and you want to put it out there on your social media. That's disturbing his privacy, David. Gillespie writes back to Gingras. David, may I call you David? First, I would like to hear your response to the important information I have already shared with you in my previous email. I noticed you have jumped at the opportunity to respond to a few latter adverse comments, yet you have nothing to say regarding the very important context of my original communication. Non-lawyers like myself would find this sort of thing peculiar. Do you? Yeah, because he always likes to talk about the non-lawyers. You know, us non-lawyers who are dumb. Oh my gosh, do you hear that? It's thundering and stuff really bad here. Please share your man-to-man thoughts before replying to any of the below. This has nothing to do with Woodnick. What Woodnick has said. Nothing, really. And it is weird that you think my anger is related to anything other than Laura's actions. It is about what happened to me. It is about what happened to Mike. It is about what happened to Matt. It is about what happened to Clayton. Boom, boom, boom. Bam. I read you said you would quit the case if you found out Laura was lying. Integrity would be doing that. As you know, she has lied. Instead, you are inciting conflict on the internet, and I think Laura wants you to embarrass me here, like she tried with my work, family, and girlfriend. You want a man-to-man talk? So here it is. She has destroyed lives with her lives. Be a man and tell her to finally admit she has a problem and that she regrets the lies and hell she has caused because 4 men did not want to date her. You have no idea how horrific it is to be falsely accused of R and more. You already have demonstrated with your posts that you are committed to being Conor McGregor and winning. A win here is her admitting she faked records and used fake pregnancies to manipulate men. Then she should go get help before more people suffer her torture. Greg Gillespie. Well put. Well put, Greg. He's had enough. Just like Mike. Sounds like the Matt person has had enough too. It is hard for men to get believed and to stand up that they were played by a woman, that a woman outsmarted them. Because a lot of people, especially older ones, maybe like Judge Judy, look at the girl who's tinier and see her as this poor little lady. She's just, how could she ever do this to these big, strong men? That thinking needs to be done with. Because a woman, no matter how big or small she is, can cause havoc. Hell hath no fury as a woman scorned. Some women will light the place up if you do them wrong or you embarrass them or whatever it is. They will make your life a living hell. And that's exactly what Owens has done. She just cannot fathom why nobody would want to be with her. I get everything in life. I want a golden goose now, Daddy. She's Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka. and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's just so baffling to me that people let people get away with this. And I am so proud of these guys finally standing up. You know, Clayton did it on his own. Great. That took a lot of courage, especially because he's a public figure. But as I've said before, one person can make a difference. And I think that's what's had Mike and Matt and Greg all stand up together, because they're not alone in this. People will believe them. People have their back. You have a group of guys who will probably forever be connected, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they found these friends in a weird circumstance. This is not how we should make friends. But they share an experience that others haven't. They know what it's like to deal with this, and with this particular woman, because they are all victims. And they are now standing together saying, come at me with whatever you want. But it's not going to change the fact that she is a liar and a manipulator. That is where we're going to end our video today. And before we leave, hit that like button, subscribe, turn that notification bell on. And our quote of the day is, being angry at the mirror won't change what is reflecting. If you want to see something different, be something different. Owens is not going to see any change in her life by being bitter and blaming everybody else. She needs to take a hard look at herself in that mirror and quit being angry at other people. Be angry at the person that's looking back at you, because you're the person that has caused all this. You're the person that can change all this. That can change yourself to something better. But if you don't do that, then you will continue to be angry in that mirror. I will see you in the next one.